Hey everyone, welcome back to Sarah's Vegan Kitchen. Today I'm going to be sharing my second in my series of cookbook reviews. If you missed my first one, I will have it linked down below as well as right up here. I reviewed the Hot for Food cookbook, Vegan Comfort Classics. Absolutely loved it. I highly recommend that cookbook. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience testing recipes from the Thug Kitchen Cookbook, which I picked up because so many of you requested that I review this. You were kind of on the fence about it, didn't know if it was worth the money, so I'm going to give you my opinion on that. And then a lot of you actually said that this is one of your favorite cookbooks, so I was very curious. I ended up testing 5 recipes. While you're watching this video, if you could take 1 second to leave a comment and let me know whether you prefer the recipe tests with voiceovers like I'm doing in this video, or if you prefer the format of the Hot for Food recipe test where I'm just cooking in front of the camera. I would really appreciate your preferences on that matter. But yeah, let's just get into the recipe testing. The very first recipe I tried from this book were the cold citrus noodles with cucumbers and carrots. So this calls for soba noodles, which you just cook according to package instructions, and then you drain them and then you rinse them with cold water so they stop cooking. I then cut up some carrots and some cucumbers into matchsticks, and I thinly sliced some green onions. And for the sauce, I mixed up some rice vinegar, a little bit of water, some fresh squeezed orange juice, lots of sesame oil, good amount of minced fresh ginger, some soy sauce, and lemon juice. And that's really all there is to it. You just toss all of these ingredients together. After I tasted it, I thought it needed a little bit more salt, so I did add an extra few teaspoons of soy sauce. And I also ended up adding sriracha on there just because I really like spicy food, and also because honestly, I thought that the dressing was a little bit lacking in, I don't know, complexity. It needed something. It tasted pretty good, but I'm just so used to using a lot of ingredients and really balancing out flavors when I'm making my dressings. So I just wasn't super impressed with this one. Let's talk about these noodles. I have to say, this recipe was the first one that I made, and I was a little underwhelmed by it. First, I gotta say, when I was growing up, and even now when I visit, my sister makes the best cold soba noodles, and she just uses a very simple sauce. I think it's just soy sauce, some sesame oil, and either sriracha or chili paste. I'm not sure if she adds any rice vinegar, but just that very basic combination of ingredients tastes so good. And this one called for more ingredients than that, and I just still felt like it was a little bland. Right off the bat, I had to add a little extra drizzle of soy sauce just because it wasn't salty enough. I am willing to say maybe it's just because different soba noodle brands come salted differently, and maybe mine was just a little less salty, so I added more soy sauce. But I just felt like if I had been whipping something together on the fly, it would have been better than this, if that makes sense. The next recipe I tried was the smoked almond and chickpea salad. Now this is intended to be used as a filling for sandwiches, and the first step is to smoke some almonds. So in one bowl, I combined some nutritional yeast, smoked paprika, and garlic powder. And in a second bowl, I combined some liquid smoke, some soy sauce, olive oil, and maple syrup. Poured some raw almonds into the wet mixture, and I let them sit in there for a little while just to hopefully soak up some of the marinade, and then I transferred them into the dry mixture and gave them a good toss until they were nice and coated. And then I transferred them to a lined baking tray and I baked them. Once those came out of the oven, I cooled them and chopped them up, but while they were baking, I prepped the rest of the ingredients. So first I mashed some chickpeas with a nice ripe avocado and some lemon juice. I made sure to mash the avocado really well because it's taking the place of mayo in this chickpea salad, so I just wanted it to be nice and creamy, but I did leave a good amount of texture in the chickpeas. After then I added some red onion and some celery and some fresh dill. I also added a little bit of chipotle Tabasco. And then I stirred in the chopped smoked almonds, and this is the finished chickpea salad. This is the chickpea salad. Put it on some toasted bread with some Dijon mustard, some lettuce, the salad is on top, and then some tomato. It's good.
This is definitely one of the recipes that I would make again, or some sort of a spin on it. Since I've been cooking for so long, I really only like cookbooks or like cooking shows that teach me something new or sort of inspire me to try new things. And I would never have thought to like season and toast almonds and then add them to a chickpea salad, so it's really good. I also ate a lot of those almonds just while they were cooling. I was like picking at them. They're really good. So next time I want to make like some spiced roasted nuts, I'll probably use that marinade and spice mix. Also, this is really healthy, especially when you consider that a lot of chickpea salads call for mayo. This one has no oil really. I mean, there's a little bit of oil in the roasted nut marinade, but other than that, all the creaminess comes from avocado. And I think that it tastes so good for being so healthy. So yeah, this recipe gets a definite thumbs up from me.
Next up, lentil tacos with carrot jicama slaw. So you start out by cooking some lentils. The recipe specifically calls for black lentils because apparently they hold their shape a little bit better. So you start out by just boiling your lentils with some water. And once those are ready, you drain them, and then you're gonna saute some onions and some chopped up mushrooms until they shrink. Then you add some chopped garlic, soy sauce, and then some apple juice, which is not something that I ever really have in my house or cook with, so I thought that was pretty interesting, but definitely added a nice sweetness. Then you also add some toasted sesame oil. And then the carrot jicama slaw that we're making to serve on top of the tacos is just as simple. I just used my mandolin to julienne some carrot and some jicama, and I chopped up some cucumber, or I kind of like cut it into matchsticks. I scooped out the seeds. I always do that for cucumbers. And then I just tossed them in a little bit of rice vinegar, then some lime juice and salt. This slaw, I honestly felt, was a little bit lacking in flavor, whereas the lentils were very flavorful even though they were simple.
These are the tacos. I will say the other day when I had them for dinner, I put a lot of avocado on them and that made them taste a lot better, but they're pretty good as is. My thoughts. First off, the lentils are really good. I feel like every time I prepare lentils, I'm either doing like a green lentil soup that just has like very basic herbs for flavoring, you know, just like a little bit of basil and bay leaves and salt and pepper, and that's it. Or I'm doing curried lentils, but I've never used this flavor combination with lentils, the soy sauce and the sesame oil, a sort of like Asian flavor profile there, and I think it's really good, and it's definitely something I'll do again in the future. But I was a little underwhelmed by the flavors in the slaw. I mean, it's good, especially when you put them together, but when I make tacos, I almost always make some sort of fresh slaw to go on top. I just love the, you know, like the juxtaposition of the really hearty taco filling and very like light, refreshing topping, and I just feel like I put a lot more flavor into all the slaws that I make, whereas this is just kind of like sour, but it is still tasty, and I really like the crunch of the jicama. I never really use jicama in my cooking, and this has definitely inspired me to use it more often. The lentils, so savory. I'm gonna add avocado now. It just makes a really good addition to this taco because it just adds creaminess. And a lot of slaws, when I make like cabbage slaw for my tacos, I'll usually use some vegan yogurt, a little bit of cultured cashew cream. Since this one is just very lightly dressed slaw, the avocado adds a nice creaminess. So my final thoughts on this: lentil recipe is great, and the slaw recipe, you could doctor it up and it would be really good. Let's talk about these plantain chips. I was really excited to make these because I love plantain chips, but I've never made them on my own. I've never cooked with plantains before. These really appeal to me, especially because they're baked. Now, these are a couple days old. I really just saved them for demonstration purposes, but I couldn't eat them. I am willing to believe that it was just an error on my part, like maybe I could have cut them a little bit thinner, or I really have no clue how to pick like a good plantain, and all the book really said was a green plantain, so maybe I picked a bad plantain, but these just came out really tough. Couldn't really chew on them. I ended up adding an extra 15 minutes to the cook time because they said to cook until they were crispy, and by the end of the cook time that they had written in the book, they were still very, very soft. So I added more time until they started to get kind of like golden brown like this, and they looked like they'd be really good, but I don't know, this was a pass for me. But like I said, it could have been my personal error, so I didn't want to write it off. So I kept making other recipes.
The next recipe really intrigued me. It's the wedding soup with white bean balls and kale. And this one called out to me specifically because I used to love Italian wedding soup. I would always get I've never had authentic wedding soup, but I used to really enjoy the kind that came in the can. I think it was by Progresso or something. And yeah, it's just a recipe that reminds me of my childhood. Start out by making the white bean meatballs. These call for cannellini beans, which I mash up. Also added good amount of minced garlic, lots of nutritional yeast. You can also substitute flour here, it says. Then I added thyme, basil, and oregano, and grated lemon zest. Then I asked for a no salt all-purpose seasoning blend. I use the 21 seasoning Salute from Trader Joe's. Then some olive oil, soy sauce, and then add some breadcrumbs. The recipe calls for whole wheat breadcrumbs. Honestly, I wasn't able to find any that didn't contain milk, so I just ended up using regular panko breadcrumbs. I will say, if I had this to do over again, personal preference would be to leave the lemon zest out, just because in my own brain, I tend to associate lemon zest with desserts, so it was a little confusing to be eating, I don't know, a savory dish that had so much lemon zest in it. While those were baking, I prepared my soup base. So for this, took some more onion, some carrots, some celery, some garlic, sauteed that in oil until the onions were translucent, and then poured in a lot of vegetable broth. I use the Better Than Bouillon no beef flavored broth. Really good. My favorite vegan broth concentrate I've used so far. I was gonna use orzo, but then I was at the store and I saw these, I think they're called acini de pepe pasta, and this looks like exactly like the kind of pasta that came in the canned wedding soup I used to have, so I used that. Pretty straightforward. You just boil everything together until the pasta's ready, and then add some lemon juice, and then some chopped kale, or you can use spinach. I happen to use kale because it's what I had on hand, and salt and pepper, and parsley or basil. I chose to use parsley because I'm not the hugest fan of parsley. I am kind of just trying to get myself to like it by including it in my dishes so that I can know how to use it when I'm creating recipes. So I used parsley in this, and it was actually pretty okay. So this recipe was probably my favorite that I made from the book, actually. It was really hearty and comforting. So those are the 5 recipes I tested from the Thug Kitchen Cookbook, and obviously there are tons more to try out. There were a couple others that really piqued my interest. There's a vegan fudgesicle recipe in here using silken tofu, which I might end up trying out, and if so, I'll post about it on Instagram or something just to update you, or I'll share it in a future video. Honestly, based on the recipes that I tried out so far, I probably wouldn't repurchase this cookbook. I probably wouldn't give it as a gift to someone. I don't know, I feel as if after I made the recipes from the Hot for Food cookbook, I was so happy with all of them and just really excited about food, and I felt inspired again, and I just felt kind of meh about all these recipes. I think maybe if you're a new cook, if you're new to veganism, or you're trying to go more plant-based, there's a lot of good ideas in here, and for the most part the recipes are very easy to follow. They're pretty basic. So if you're just looking for something to get started, then I guess this would be a good cookbook. I think it's also fairly affordable now. I got mine used on Amazon. I feel like I paid like $8 for it. But if you're someone who's been cooking for a long time and you're really good at improvising recipes, I'm not sure that this is gonna offer you anything that you wouldn't be able to intuit on your own, if that makes sense. I still want to try a few of the breakfast recipes in here. I feel like those might be really good. So I loved the Hot for Food cookbook so much that I did a giveaway of 3 copies on the video review for that. And I was wondering, would it be weird if I did a giveaway for this cookbook when I just said I don't love it that much? But I feel like some people would still be interested in having their own copy and trying it out for themselves. So I am going to be giving away a copy of the Thug Kitchen Cookbook. I'll have all the information for that linked down below. It's going to be through Amazon again. Super easy to enter. And if there are any cookbooks you'd like to see me review in the future, I want to do like one of these per month. Leave that down below. The Miyoko's Homemade Vegan Pantry cookbook review is so overdue. I've just been having a lot of trouble narrowing down which recipes I want to try from that, because there's so many to choose from. It's just like a wealth of information. So yeah, I will be doing that probably next. If there's any other cookbooks you want to see me review, let me know. Or if there are any just like random vegan recipes that you've seen on the internet that you'd like me to try out, that you want to know whether they're worth your time and effort and money, leave those down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.